I thought I would put you over by the fishes today so that we can remain tranquil and calm with them as best we can during this new moon cycle. So 28 days of Sidereal Aries and tropical Taurus. T-square. Moon, sun are at hard angles with Mars and Pluto. I think you can feel it. I can feel it. Things are a little tense, a little bit difficult. I feel a little bit judgmental. Sorry, the lighting's not perfect. There's very little that's perfect for me right now. I am truly hoping that this finds you with things well aligned for you right now. But it seems like sometimes when things aren't aligned to my taste, it's because they're not aligned to my ego's taste. So, my preferences, raga and dvesha, don't have a whole lot to do with what's really going on. And I like to center myself. I like to be the one who is, the main character. But the main character is a larger organism that is all of us. There are many different ways to explain this. There are many different ways to look at this. Aries is initiative energy, and Taurus is satisfying the child self and the needs of the body. When we come from eternity into the form of perception that we have here on Earth, mind becomes time, and the body is the representation of space. These are actually symbolic, but they feel very real to us. So Aries and Taurus are like that first look through the looking glass. When we feel very young and we feel very small, and it's very spring and very initiative. But it also has a lot to do with the eclipse cycle that we just went through and the results of Mars retrograde. I just saw the world flash. So in each of our lives, we need to, of course, take into account the past, but become very aware of how we project things into the future, and how, may he rest in peace, how we work with our own mortality, right? It doesn't last forever, so we need to act accordingly. We said at the beginning of that eclipse cycle that leaders would be falling, and I have focused my own personal attention on the failure of religion, since we're into so many religious wars and these things are just carrying on and on and on. Well, this one's us. Okay, we got a significator. And the significator is the Six of Cups. This is about nostalgia. This is about the past and how we tend to romanticize the past when we can't visualize what a good-looking future is going to be. This is that child self, the adaptive child, right? The one that will do anything it needs to do to ensure its survival. And this is the one where the trauma comes from, right? Because if you don't fit into that family unit, then your chances of survival are pretty slim. You got to please the parents. Reminds me of Taurus to a certain degree. You know, Taurus does a lot of fight, flight, freeze, fawn in order to get what it needs, you know? It's not able to look at its needs as options. It's not able to employ restraint. The yama of Lord Bharani in the Vedic tradition, the nakshatra where this new moon falls is he's the god of restraint, right? And idealization from the past. We're seeing ourselves as we were. I'm sorry, I'm really looking away, but we are in this reading looking at the past, looking at our past selves. And that's where we'll start. Okay, good. You can see that right there. Put it over this way just a little bit and you can still see it. Our obstacle, what we're being crossed by, Seven of Wands. And wands are fire, and we have a lot of fire right now, especially in the tropical chart. It's action, inspiration, drive, and passion. This guy, though, has the higher ground, and he's looking down on a bunch of competitors, not competitors, foes. Like they're trying to knock him down and take him out of this area, this piece of ground that he has. Now, as an obstacle to how we see ourselves in the past, this says to me, we've lost ground, or we are perceiving ourselves. The obstacle is that we perceive that we have lost ground, that we have fought alone and failed, that we are outcast, exile, that we're fighting our battles by ourselves. But that often happens from, a perspective of loss. If what we had was good and we lost it, we feel alone and alienated in that. What's the jazz song? Nobody loves you when you're down and out. And it can really feel that way right now. Like, I get that. That makes perfect sense to me, that's where we start this reading from. From a feeling of having lost something that was once valuable, Taurus. A bad start, Aries. Like we're damaged in some way. And that feeling of being damaged is founded in competition. I can tell this whole reading is going to be about, a lack of cooperation. We're in a situation where we're feeling odd man out and we're seeing only competition all around us. And isn't this the setup of capitalism? Like, isn't this an ism that we bought into? And it's been my opinion for quite some time that, like, when the Soviet Union fell and Glasnost happened and there was this admission that things needed to change, we were being put on notice. We were given an example to follow of, like, how you quit your religion, how you lose your ideology. And, since we're kind of in this feeling of being, something is lost, we lost something of value to a competition, it would presume that there's something out there that's better, like something out-competed us. But that's not really the case. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the case. We don't need to go back to the past in order to get things right. Maybe in some ways an archaic revival would be a good thing for us. But we certainly don't want to lose the information technologies that we have. We don't want to lose what we have gained because it requires more capacity of us. Maybe the idea of competition, or this being founded in competition, is, making us lose what the benefits of competition are. Because there's a lot of competition cards here, but the first card is a card of cooperation. So if we lost anything, maybe what we really lost was a sense of unified cooperation. And this is founded in the kerfuffle, right? In the idea that it's a struggle, that it's always got to be a fight. I think that's what's being overcome. So grounded in the Five of Wands, kind of a tangled action, a competition with lots of drive and passion that's turned against itself. Then we are crowned by, lovely, Queen of Pentacles. This is nature herself. She's representative of the earth element, and she sees many worlds within that pentacle. A lot of people think of them as coins. Boy, we're a little blurry. Sorry, guys. But I kind of see them as stability in the material world, no matter where that comes from. No matter, I don't have anything to wipe the lens. I'm so sorry. There we go. Where we stabilize our fertility and our fecundity and our abundance. And as the Queen of Pentacles, she is the receptive energy of nature. So as we are moving through a period where we feel like cooperation has left us and we have moved into a tangle, a kerfuffle, an exile, a solitary existence, nature is willing and ready to receive us. Let's see what we have to do to get there. Also, good card for Taurus, as Taurus is an earth sign. Now, we're moving away from Temperance. Interesting. Temperance, for me, this reminds me of baking. It always will, it always does. That, when you fold something into a batter and you have to add it slowly, and you have to not overwhelm the batter in order to incorporate the new ingredient. I feel like that's our relationship to our new technologies. And what's at heart for me for all of this right now, these fishes are enjoying this, by the way. They seem to, they're looking at the colorful cards. They're being, I thought it might be fun for them. I'm sorry. Back to where we were. The thing that our temperance is this technological information age, right? And one thing we have to understand, that this is like a data swarm. The planet Earth is. It's DNA. It's information. It's consciousness looking at form and acting upon it and giving it new corridors and new ways to move around. And we are incorporating something new that's something very delicate, and it's having the effect of blowing out a lot of our systems, and a lot of the systems that work, and a lot of the systems that are very helpful, like Social Security and DEI, and things that helped us to do this kind of temperance work on smaller scales and with different demographics, and we're moving away from the temperate folding in of new informations and new understandings. It feels like a breakthrough card. Like it feels like when you leave behind temperance, you're moving toward a breakthrough. But let's see what the cards have to say about that. We're moving away from temperance, our first major arcana card in this reading as well, and toward winning at all cost. This is a tough card, friends, but it is matched with these wands. So wands, fire, active, I think of them as being a little bit more like creativity, and this is a creative competition. Winning at all costs, the swords, this is air. This is Aquarius, where Pluto is. And Pluto can be a little gory at times, right? Both fire and air are active. Both swords and wands are active. They are not passive energies. So air is like thought and logic, ideas, intellect, communications, new ways of dealing with temperance, with folding in the information. But, I mean, it has to happen, and it is life or death. So winning at all costs means being able to accommodate all the new information that has been coming in. Nature's receptivity, cooperation. This is not a cooperative card, though. So, we need to see how we're going to orient individually in an atmosphere or in a future of winning at all costs. I think we know this is where we are. I think we know that in the competition of ideas, the best idea will win, right? But we have to make sure it's not one that's winner take all. And this is a winner take all card. I'm not going to lie about that, nor sugarcoat it. I think we need to look at the crowning principle for hope, because the Queen of Pentacles, the Earth principle, it is receptive. And cooperation is where we long to return to. But competition is baked in. It's enfolded in the process now. How do we get back to cooperation from that kind of a competition? The one who wins has to cooperate. There's food for thought. All right. Now, we are becoming, as a collective, we are becoming the King of Wands. Lovely. So, down here where we were with two different types of competition that were softer than the swords, right? They weren't mental. They were creative, active, inspiring, driven with passion. We are the king of that active fire. We are ready to act. If there's going to be justice, it's going to be a collective effort. And if we're going to heal this situation and go back to cooperation and nature, then we're going to need the fiery inspiration of a just world. I think that's what we're losing. I think what we're losing more so than anything else is a world where justice can prevail. I mean, clearly we didn't have it. The whole world has never been just totally. But we had a couple places where justice could prevail. And this king, to me, symbolizes our memory of that, our desire for that, the Fire King, right? He's got the lion behind him, the lion rampant. Courage. Courage, dear heart, to quote. Who's the guy who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia? C.S. Lewis. That's his quote. Courage. All right. All around us, we are surrounded by the Knight of Swords. And this is, a step up from the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords is not a royal card. It's not a court card. So we're surrounded by kind of headless chickens. I mean, he's definitely got an attitude of war to him as well. Frantic, fanatic, aggressive logic, aggressive ideas, aggressive communication. I don't really see it in this reading as intellect. It doesn't seem very intellectual. It seems like there's a definite thread of winner take all through the whole thing, and then there's forces of competition kind of working their way toward that and trying to get organized around it. That's where this kind of crazy making signal bearer comes in, just screaming and stirring things up, and not allowing the internal or external forces to get organized. And I'm not really certain that the kind of organization we would like to have is possible anymore, but I think what we can be is organized within. So turn down the rhetoric, turn down the distraction, because very much of what's going on is to distract us, and know where you're going to be with things, and know where your heart is. It's really the best you can do right now. I mean, it's a little tough to do more than that with so many irons in the fire. I think that's probably a good heading for this reading as well. Now, our hopes and fears, the happy home card, right? This is nature coinciding with material world. Like, we all want to be comfortable, safe, and warm. And almost everybody I know, I've never met anybody who didn't want peace in the world and didn't want peace for their children. The people who want the wars are the ones who lead us, and they're wrong. I mean, they just are, and getting wronger by the day. We are led by the least among us. We need to be led with our hearts. And we fear the destruction of that. And certainly, the disillusionment of cooperation as it dissolves into competition, and all of the cooperation of nature is enfolded into this destructive and competitive cycle. We hope for and fear the loss of heart. And finally, we are finishing the Hanged Man. Brilliant. Okay, another our major arcana, of which we have two in this reading. The first was understanding that cooperation became enfolded in the ideologies of competition. This one is learning to see things in a new way. And I'm going to go ahead and say, since the heart came up so much in the last line here, it's learning to see with the heart. and learning to see with compassion that will save us, that will pull us out of this. That is the thing that must be protected. That is the thing that we cannot lose to this struggle. We cannot lose our humanity. And it's under siege. Now, this is Woden, right? Hung himself upside down in the tree of wisdom in order to see in a new way. He also lost an eye in the quest for learning to see properly. There's a sense in which, and there has always been a sense in which, learning to see the world differently solves all of the problems we have with it. It's like a perspective shift. It's like a blick shift. You know, that vase, that if you look at it one way, it's a vase, and in another way, it's two faces in profile. The duck or bunny, the gestalt shift, right? And if you take all of this in consideration, what it seems to be saying is the strife that we encounter is the engine of conscious evolution. And we can look at it like that in order to attain greater understanding across all levels: mental, bodily, spiritually. You know, some days it is pleasing and some days it is not, but it's all God. If you do God, it can be a storm that passed through space for you, if that's better. It can be a giant explosion at the beginning of time. Whatever works for you, right? The generative energy embodied in the earth that we can neither create nor destroy. That thing. It's carrying us forward dimensionally. And these difficulties, these competitions, these struggles, these fights we have to go through are necessary in order to bring us to places where we can see anew, where we can see with new eyes. Yeah? It's the best I can do on that one. I think that's where we're headed. Underneath the deck, what's it all about? Wishes, right? This insidious and wonderful little card, the Nine of Cups. Cups are water. They're passive emotion, feeling, intuition, relation. This is often described as the wish come true card. But if you look at it carefully, it's a merchant, right? The guy there is a merchant with his knees spread wide and a bunch of presumably full cups of presumably something we want. So the whole discussion about cooperation and competition seems centered somehow on whether or not we get what we want. But this Hanged Man is the esoteric practice of restraint. It's Yama. It's Yama and Bharani Nakshatra. This whole beautiful spread describes the space we are walking between worlds right now, between life and death, between the start of something new and the end of something old. We live there. We live in that abyss, that chasm right now. And we may wish that things were different, but ultimately, the perspective we will gain will be the wish that nature wants. That preserves the heart. That preserves cooperation. Because we may think we're in control. We may think we own all the cups. But that's nature's. It belongs to her. Happy to say it. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your attention and your time. Enjoy the next 30 days. Try to have fun. Try to live through your heart and be compassionate and wonderful. And I'll see you here again in about 2 weeks.